Are you all right?
Yeah, Fright Flight's just a fun time, man. I love it.
It is Fright Flight. Fright Flight Annual 3. We're back. Ghouls, ghosts, and spirits, and zombies, and whatever else we have aboard.
Goblins. Ghouls, ghosts, and goblins.
I feel like goblins might be a little insensitive to our British listeners.
Leprechauns?
Insensitive to our Irish listeners.
But what if they're in the hood?
Then they're a bad movie.
So insensitive to everyone?
Insensitive everyone has to watch it.
Oh, okay. Seems fun to me.
Anyways, back to Fright Flight. We're on our 3rd annual this year. So this year, like last year and the year before, we took a crack at 4 YouTube series that are known for being horror.
Yeah, and it seems this year we may have accidentally stumbled upon a theme, not on purpose, but kind of analog horror, which my understanding of just seeing the groupings of things listed under the analog horror category after looking up afterwards kind of just means, does it look like it was recorded on a retro camera or done for television in like the 70s or 80s, maybe the 90s? Congratulations, you have analog horror now.
Yeah, that sounds like analog horror.
Yeah, that's like 3 of the 4 things we have here.
It's just horror that looks like it was set before the change to digital.
Yeah, basically the idea is that, well, this is real, clearly, because it's not made for the internet, because this horror thing that's happening is before the internet.
Yeah, you wouldn't make up lies and put them on the internet.
God, no. Just like I wouldn't download a car.
So, I guess we'll start with probably what the most popular one from this year, 2022, the Backrooms.
The popularity is obviously so large that like everyone kind of knows it. There's jokes about it. There's games.
I think the first Backrooms video has 49 million views.
It was a fuck ton. I didn't pay attention.
So many views.
The first video being in the very aptly titled The Backrooms.
Found footage. Which starts as a VHS-style student film.
Yeah, we have like a kid in a monkey mask creeping around a shipping container to start another one. We're given the clapboard intro to this, and then the student director is basically like, okay, now let's go for a wide shot.
As the cameraman is backing up, he trips and falls out of reality.
Yeah.
Oh snap, there goes gravity.
And he ends up in a weirdly pale, yellowish room. Basically, it's like walk doctor's office from like the 40s or 50s. Everyone's just been chain smoking in there the entire time, so it's like the uncomfortably sickly yellow that you just get from nicotine buildup on the walls.
It looks like our aunt's apartment circa 2004.
That too, yeah.
Except it's infinite. The halls go on forever. There's places forever.
And hopefully it doesn't smell like ammonia and cigarette smoke.
Yeah, that. Our cameraman walks around this infinite labyrinth of yellow walls with yellow carpet.
Yeah, at first he calls out, like, for his friends, or to anyone eventually, and obviously no response.
At some point he finds, like, 2 walls that aren't quite all the way together, and there's, like, a tiny, like, 2-finger wide crack that goes, well, a space between them, not a crack. And he can see into another area where it's just more of the same yellow floors and yellow walls.
Forever.
Again, because it's infinite.
Yeah.
You get my first exposure to the Backrooms, I was 100% certain that in some way, shape, or form, this is inspired by the yellow wallpaper.
Yeah, it would make sense. It really, really would.
Yeah, especially with the patterning on the wallpaper. Like, when you get close-ups, it just feels like there's some type of inspiration there. Yellow Wallpaper, a great horror short story if you're in for a good read for this month of Halloween.
Yeah, it'll probably take up less of your time than this episode of Co-Pilots will.
It probably will take you less time than this episode. It's not that long of a short story, but our cameraman wanders through the back rooms.
And it seems to me, at least for a bit here, initially, as we wander a bit more, the shadows seem to be getting deeper and darker, which is a nice little slight development.
Yeah, I don't think the lighting is consistent in any way.
It's really not.
Trends in any direction, for real.
For like a beat there, it seems like it's getting darker, and then it just goes back to how it was, so.
There's even a part where, well, we'll get to it. So as he wanders, he eventually finds a square hole in a wall.
Yeah.
With a ladder leading up to it.
He climbs up it, goes through the hole.
And it's more yellow rooms, the same stuff. But actually the lighting here makes it look almost green. But I still think it's supposed to be yellow.
Yeah, it definitely is. And then as he's wandering, he finds an arrow drawn on the wall.
And that arrow leads to more arrows.
And he's like, okay. And he follows it. And he gets to a wall that has a window drawn on it.
And a face.
Some writing. And one phrase that we actually get to really see and read.
Don't move, stay still.
Yes.
Or if we're taking our reading lessons from the seminal horror piece The Walking Dead, don't stay, move still.
Or from poorly designed and plotted out shirts, don't still, move stay.
I don't know what you're referring to here.
I don't know, I've just seen badly laid out shirts that are supposed to be read certain ways.
Then there's some kind of distorted noise. Our cameraman starts to run off the way he came.
Yeah.
And then we get a glimpse of a tall black shadow figure chasing him.
It looks like a baby siren head, if you know what siren head is.
Without the siren on its head.
Yeah.
It's siren head sans siren.
Yeah.
So just head.
I guess, technically. Sure. But anyways, it's chasing him, and he sees he has one option. That's to jump down a square hole, because everything is square or rectangular for the most part in this area.
I don't think he intentionally jumps down the hole. He kind of like is running and...
Well, we see it. We see him look back.
That's the second hole. I don't think he sees this one. He just is running, looks over his shoulder, and falls.
I mean, we see it following him twice. We cut to the camera looking behind him twice during this entire chase thing. It seemed to me he jumped. Either way, he ends up down a hole. And the video briefly cuts, and then we find him staring at a set of stairs. What looks like a bluish light room, and then a dark...
The bluish room looks almost like a kitchen. Like
I was going to say it looks almost like a meat locker, like a clean meat locker. So not horror movie stereotype, but like actual, like what you have to be at standards to operate one of those. Or a morgue.
Yeah, and he ignores that.
Which is kind of the fusion between a kitchen and a morgue.
And goes up the stairs. Mm-hmm. And the stairs take him to a place with wooden floors and white walls.
Well, for some reason, though, as he goes up the stairs, we see not really that he goes up them, he walks towards them, and then we cut to the camera looking down the stairs, and lights are flicking on and off down there.
He's flicking the lights on and off.
I assumed that's what he was doing.
We hear a light switch. Like,
yeah, but
he's doing it.
We technically don't see him doing it. We can't prove he's doing it, but I assume he is.
Him doing it. He found a light switch and was like,
I won't play with this.
It's the first light switch he's seen in the entire place. He's like, what?
Ooh, on, off, on, off, on, off, on, off. Yeah. Yeah.
And if this was a horror movie and not like an internet like creepypasta,
something would have jump scared him.
When he turned it off at one point, the black thing would have just come barging out of the darkness up the stairs at him.
But it's not the case. And he ends up in, like you were saying, a area with white walls, a dark wood floor. To me, it looks very much like an art gallery setup.
Yeah, and then he sees a chair over by an actual window, the first window we've seen in the entire building.
Looks more like a cutout window, but yes.
Walks over there and looks out onto a courtyard that has like paths and grass and...
Other windows have lights on in them, and obviously, you know, like every good quad has nowadays, a nice, smooth white roof covers all of it.
Just so you never have to see the sun.
Yeah, the sun's horrible. Everyone knows this. Honestly, he seems freaked out. I'm thinking this seems like a pretty great place to live.
So he continues exploring and finds a dumpster with a rope next to it.
Which he seems confused by, but I'm just like, that makes sense for like someone's art installation. There's a trash can with a string of numbers and letters on it. There's a rope. It's set into this alcove. This is clearly someone's art project.
So we go back to wandering. Mm-hmm. He's wandering around the place, and he comes to a ledge.
Yeah.
And across from him, across this gap, is another area that comes to this ledge. Mm-hmm. And then to his left and right are other areas that just come to these ledges. And up and down, same thing, for infinity, in all directions.
Yeah, the area across from him is like more of like a stone gray, like industrial, like hallway. More like what you would find in a parking garage almost, but more like the bridge to a parking garage. You're starting to transition to just like the concrete structure. And that's why I have called this structure across from him the infinite parking garage.
But he's also in an infinite parking garage. We can see,
he's in the infinite art gallery.
So you can see to his left and right that these all come to the same terminal spot.
He's in the infinite art gallery. Across from him is the infinite parking garage. Now he just needs to find the infinite, like, TGIFs or something.
And there's also an infinite void beneath him.
Yeah.
Which is weird when he goes back down a hole later and ends up back in the yellow room. Because that implies the yellow room also comes to this.
He doesn't go down a hole to end up in the yellow room. After this, we don't really see where he goes from here. We just cut to him walking.
He goes upstairs. Mm-hmm. You're right.
He's walking down a different hallway.
He already fell down a hole to get to here.
He's walking down a different hallway, which is sparsely filled with filing cabinets. And on his right is a door, which is labeled fire exit.
It's the first door you've seen.
Yeah, so he pushes the push bar and we see some stairs. It's a plain hallway. It's actually rather short and not too steep of an angle. So he goes up and out and he's back in the yellow area.
And so instead of going back into the white area where he hasn't seen any monsters trying to chase him or kill him,
he didn't interact with these filing cabinets at all either. He was just like, okay, up the stairs. Oh, it's the scary place.
This cameraman is terrible at point-and-click adventure games.
Yeah.
Didn't even touch the filing cabinets.
No, didn't touch the filing cabinets, didn't try to open the dumpster, didn't pick up the rope in case he needs to use it later.
Like to descend into one of the other levels of the parking garage?
Exactly. And we didn't see him like try to touch the darkness. Maybe it wasn't dark. Maybe that was all painted illusion. He tried nothing. He didn't even stick the camera out past the edge of the floor.
Yep.
I guess Ben's at point and clicks. Anyways, though.
So, wanders around the yellow areas for a while. walking down a yellow hall.
We start hearing some sounds.
And then a black figure flies across the hall, slams into a wall, turns to face him, and starts running at him.
So he runs, and then he hides in this very, very dark shadow, and he's just kind of...
Yeah, this like little
alcove.
And
he's trying to hide, but he's obviously, because he's like, man, I gotta get this footage, though. Has the camera peeking back that way, and we see the thing walk slowly past him.
We agreed that it was called Head.
We see Head walking slowly past him, and so he turns to leave. And he starts slowly walking, and then he starts kind of like jogging, and then we hear it pick up, and it's following him now, so he's running.
And so he's running, and he sees this pit in front of him. He kind of looks back, he kind of hesitates.
He slows down, hesitates.
Looks down the pit. It's a very large pit. But he hesitates too long because Head grabs him and the camera falls down the pit.
Yeah, we see the camera turn around to see it, turn back towards the pit, and then we see the camera go flying off as he gets grabbed by it.
And the camera just falls down the pit and back into reality.
Well, it falls down the pit, around a corner, more down, around another corner.
And then back into reality.
Yeah, the gravity of that place is fun.
And gravity returns.
As it falls from the sky down to Earth.
It falls very far. The fact the camera is still running when it hits the ground is ridiculous.
The fact that it's still running and the lens isn't like broken in a manner that is visible to its actual camera, the recording piece.
This camera is indestructible. It must be made by Nokia.
I would think so, yeah. So it seems.
So, that's episode 1. What do you think of the Backrooms?
I like the infinite parking garage. It's neat. It was a good visual.
So I'm going to say this, and I want you to know that I have never played, nor do I ever plan on playing a video game based on the Backrooms.
Yeah.
But this would be a cool video game.
Makes sense. Yeah. I mean, I know there's a Backrooms video game, but that doesn't look good. It's just like a walk.
There's like 17 of them
yeah,
on
but everything
Steam.
I've seen is just like, walk through the creepy Backrooms. It's just like...
Don't get got by the creepy guy.
Okay. No. If you want to play a game
Head. Don't get caught by Head.
If you want to play a game that I would assume is just kind of the weird exploration bit there, the almost, that's what you're looking for, I would suggest Control. It does that and has story and weird SCP things.
Yeah. So the next video, well, I guess I should give my take on episode 1.
Yeah, what are your thoughts?
It's very boring.
True.
Like
too much yellow hallways. They're boring.
I like internet creepypasta stuff.
Yeah, there's just nothing going on in this one.
Why are so many internet creepy things just boring?
They're all going for ambiance, almost like they're trying to recreate liminal space photography. But like the way Reddit thinks liminal space photography is, which isn't by definition what the word liminal means at all. If you've ever looked at like liminal photography on Reddit and looked up what liminal photography is by definition, they're just wrong. In fact, there's this great YouTube video that I can't remember off the top of my head where a guy was just like, I decided to do liminal photography because I liked it. And I submitted a bunch of things to Reddit, and all the few things that they did accept are the pieces that aren't actual liminal photography. I just added a color filter to an empty place. Look, it's a playground, but it's slightly sepia. Liminal photography.
That's not liminal?
No.
So episode 2 is entitled mar11_90_archive.tar.
Yep.
It starts with the text data not accessible on a blue background.
Yes.
The background changes a little bit. It then says reformatting. And then it says loading, quotation, archive.tar.
And then we get grainy footage of a weird room.
It's a back room. It's in yellow.
So the back rooms, yes.
Yep.
Then we get a circuit board.
Then we get another static image, and it's a room filling with liquid from a pipe that reminds me of the shark room from Resident Evil 1.
Yeah, the pipe feels like its job is to intentionally fill the place with water.
Yeah, it's supposed to be flooding the place with water.
Which seems like a bad design, because that ceiling is definitely one of those shitty, like, drop ceilings.
Yeah, and the water's going up towards the ceiling.
And you have plastered fucking poles.
It's definitely not like how in Resident Evil you need to turn off the water flow to get through an area.
Yeah.
It's just supposed to be filling. Mm-hmm. I think this is them trying to like test the back rooms.
Yeah, the pipe definitely is additionally added to the room. So, anyways, though, we then see a man at what I think is an old data computing device.
Yeah, it's a computing device of some sort. His face is blacked out. Mm-hmm. He's taking notes.
Then we see another guy at a...
He's in like the back of a computer, essentially.
Yeah, like...
And there's wires and cables all around him.
Like maybe the back of a circuit switch for a mainframe or some shit.
His face is also blacked out.
And then we have what looks like a server farm being set up, really. It's a very large room, and we see several server banks that aren't fully plugged in to each other yet.
I don't know if it's like a server farm, but it's definitely like a lab of some sort that hasn't been fully set up.
Yeah.
Then we get another image of a man. His eyes are blacked out, but not the rest of his face.
And now we actually have like color, like actual color in these photos.
Yeah, and he's looking through a window out into the back rooms while he's sitting at a more modern computer. It's got a boxy design.
Late 90s, early 2000s.
Yeah. The kind of computer that if you were me, you used in elementary school.
Yeah.
Yeah. Back when floppy disks were still a thing.
Yep.
I feel old.
You are.
But also, floppy disks weren't a thing. Like, they had floppy disk drives on our computers, but like none of my classmates knew what floppy disks were.
Yeah.
And when I was using them to save my writing, one of the after school teachers was like, why are you using a floppy drive? And I was like,
I have them.
what else do you use? A flash drive? Who can afford
Flash
those?
drives are expensive. Yeah, it's like $30 for a 1 gigabyte flash drive. Why would I pay that? I have a fuck ton of floppy disks.
Yes, they're like 64 megabytes each, but do you know how many Word files that holds?
Enough.
3.
Enough.
3.
Anyways, though, we then get a shot of just one of the yellow rooms. One of the doorways is surrounded in a red border, and it's listed as Null Zone 4. And then we have a bunch of grading wording off to the side that seems to be noting something. And it seems to be talking about electron discrepancies causing something or other. I didn't care enough to pause on a not grainy image or look it up to see what it says.
And then we get a static image that looks like we're inside of a machine of some sort.
So I called it a weird pipe tunnel that is what my mind imagines the inside of a solar panel to look like.
It kind of looks like the hallways in a submarine.
Kind of. My brain was just like, if you struck me down and then made me explore an environment like a video game or a book or a movie does all the time, I feel like that's what the inside of a solar panel would look like if I was small enough.
Anyways, we then cut to black.
And that's the end.
Yep, it should be mentioned that all these static images are set to a melody that has like static in the
Yeah.
melody. It's very generic music.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's the Backrooms, episodes 1 and 2. So the question we ask at the end of every show, would you watch more?
No.
Me too.
No, like, there's nothing there. Ooh, like, the only mildly interesting thing is a null zone, an electron discrepancy. Maybe if you supplied me with this information in any other form of storytelling.
Yeah, diagrams are kind of boring,
Rather
guys.
than just because a diagram, despite being visual, is not show, don't tell.
But Head's somewhere in the back room.
Ooh.
I really enjoyed Head back in the 1990s when he was a professional wrestler. His other name was like Al Snow.
Mm-hmm. I preferred him before he dropped the room from his last name, and, you know, he was doing those television spots, Max Headroom, like, great work.
I really enjoyed him after he added the PE to his name, though, and dropped the A. When he was just Head PE.
Yeah.
He was making, like, experimental industrial grunge.
Honestly, he's just had a very, very varied career.
Yeah, now
He's
he's...
like some weird, fragmented glitch demon. It's neat. It's nice to see his work again.
It's nice to see him getting work in 2022.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyways, though, our next thing that we watched, we didn't do any of these. These all require some form of creative effort, which we clearly don't have, which is why we're reviewing them instead, is Local 58, which you can find, which I was going to mention before, but I forgot to. So the Backrooms you can find on the channel Kane Pixel on YouTube.
And you can find it in the Fright Flight 3 playlist.
Yes, we will have a list of everything, but I'm also going to credit where they're at on YouTube as we talk about it.
Obviously. You should do that. I didn't write the names down.
So now we're going to go to Local 58, which you can find on their YouTube channel, Local 58 TV.
And the first episode is, you are on the fastest available route.
Yes. And we open up with a Local 58 programming card, which...
Generic, like, TV music.
Yeah, I was going to explain it for people who don't know what the fuck those are.
So, like, hold music.
Yeah, and a programming card is a thing that televisions used to have. Back when, one, there was cable or satellite television. Satellite television, not so much, but some channels still had them.
Well, I think local channels still have them sometimes.
Maybe a few.
Like, especially the late nights.
But who watches local channels? Here's my explanation.
I think the last time I watched, like, a local channel and saw one of these news cards was, like, 9 years ago.
Something like that. But it's basically just a guide or a schedule that the channel themselves have posted on the television.
In between shows or commercials.
That way you know what's coming next. That way if you want to stick around.
I think the last time I saw one, it was like, Everybody Loves Raymond, King of Queens, King of Queens, King of Queens, Scrubs.
Okay.
Scrubs.
The last time I saw one, I feel like it doesn't count because it never counts. It was an Adult Swim one.
Oh yeah, Adult Swim does them. That's probably where most people are familiar with them.
Yeah, probably. Because Adult Swim just like ran it, and more often than not, a lot of theirs were a joke. They were doing a parody of it, basically. Anyways, though, we get the programming card, and it says 12:05, The Midnight Movie. 1:55, Paid Programming.
And then somebody starts hitting the backspace key, and paid programming gets deleted.
And that's not how these things really work most of the time. It's generally a still card, but okay.
And then the screen cuts to a car driving down a road in the rain.
Mm-hmm.
We get the voice of a GPS telling us that the destination is estimated 2 hours and 28 minutes.
Yes. And we have the camera line of date and time. It is 2014, November 21st, 1:57 a.m.
Camera cuts. The time is now 2:02 a.m.
Yep.
You should have mentioned at the top of this, the footage is all black and white and grainy.
Yes, it's very, very grainy.
But the camera cuts back in, it's 2:02. We're still just driving. Cuts back out. Cuts back in. Time is 3:22 a.m. And the GPS is telling us that it has to reroute because there is traffic ahead.
Mm-hmm.
There is no visible traffic ahead.
We also have some sound, but not a lot here. It's just like a
Thunder,
bit of
lightning, and rain.
a bit of rain, a bit of background sound. I'm just pointing this out because at no point during any of this do we ever hear the person driving.
Yeah, no, we don't. You're right. We cut back in again. It's 4:47 a.m. and the GPS tells us arrive at destination in 14 minutes.
It's also no longer raining, which is nice.
So if you're following along, 2 hours and 20 minutes added onto the start time of 1 hour 57 would give us about 4:25 as a finish. And this is 4:47, so we're already 24 minutes past our finish time.
Yeah.
And it's telling us that it's going to take another 14 minutes.
Yeah, so then we cut to the car, and it seems to be slowing down a bit. It's now 5:12 a.m.
Yep.
And to me, it sounds almost like they have a flat tire, because we hear a bit of a thumping.
It feels like it's definitely kicking something up. Like there might be some rocks on the road or something. It's not gravel road, but
it's like you're getting close to back road area. If you ever been on back roads or stuff, you know what I'm talking about.
And the GPS tells us, rerouting, make a U-turn.
And then we cut to 5:27 a.m. They are on a gravel road in the middle of a fucking forest.
I think it's more like a dirt road.
Well, there's gravel on it. You can hear the gravel, you can see the gravel, and they're bumping up and down. It's not a good road, but there's definitely gravel on it.
Okay, yeah, that feels fair.
And then, as they're driving, the GPS is telling them to keep going.
Then follow signs for do not enter.
And then it tells them to continue on the road. It keeps telling them that.
It says, continue on unnamed road, and then in 300 feet, turn off your headlights.
So they get to wherever they need to go, and they turn off their fucking headlights.
Okay, before we do the reveal here, can we agree that if your GPS is telling you to follow signs that say do not enter, and then also telling you, hey, in the middle of the night, in this dark place, in the middle of the forest, turn off your headlights? Can we agree that your GPS is possessed at this point?
I mean, can we agree that I probably would have stopped at like a gas station or some shit when my GPS decided to reroute me when there was no traffic in front of me because it's 2014 and I have a smartphone?
Yeah. We all didn't have smartphones in 2014 though, Justice.
Yeah, I understand. But I'm saying I personally would have done this. If we're in the situation of, hey, if we were in this situation with you, I would.
My smartphone broke that year and I was spent half the year using a silver flip phone.
Those are fun though.
Yeah.
Anyways, though, the
driver stops their car like they're told to.
We get some glitchy sounds.
And the driver stops their car like the GPS tells them to.
And then we get some glitchy sound. The video gets a bit scuffy.
They turn off their headlights.
And then when the video comes back, we see a brief glimpse of just a really good cosplay of Death from Adventure Time, if you know who I'm talking about. All skeleton-y, horse head,
really?
Skeleton horse head.
I get what you're going for, but really it looked more like Head's cousin.
Yeah.
Black, elongated, and then their head was, instead of being vertical, was sideways.
Also, they weren't really black. It was more of a whitish, actually.
Maybe.
Yeah, because they were standing out of the black forest in the trees. Anyways, though, then the camera cuts again, and we see that whoever it is has not been magically compelled by their GPS to end up here. They do have free will of some sort, because they're driving the fuck away in the opposite direction from what their GPS is telling them.
And the time now is 5:32 a.m., so between them stopping their car, turning their lights out, turning their lights back on, and now driving away from the entity.
Really fucking fast to the point where they are catching air on these.
Like 5 minutes has passed. So I don't know how long they had their lights out for, or how long they sat there and looked at the thing before deciding to run away. But
yeah. And we're hearing a lot more sounds in the background now. The audio hasn't quite recovered from coming back on. It's still iffy. And we're hearing the GPS constantly telling them,
rerouting, make a U-turn. Your destination is behind you.
Well, it says that once, and then it says your destination is in 450 feet. Your destination
first it says your destination is behind you.
Yeah, and then it says
your destination is behind you. And then it starts saying your destination is in 500 feet.
Your destination is in 300 feet.
Your destination is in 250 feet.
Your destination is in 100 feet. Your destination is right ahead. And then it cuts out.
No, then it says you have arrived at your destination.
It does that after we come back. It cuts off saying you're about to arrive at your destination.
It says you have arrived at your destination before it cuts out.
No, it says you are arriving at you. It's that thing GPS does. You haven't arrived yet. You are almost there. You are arriving at.
Okay.
And then it cuts out because it cuts out before it finishes. You are arriving. You are arriving.
Okay. I get. Yeah. Okay, you're right.
I mentioned it because it's like the best perfectly timed part of this, in my opinion.
So the camera cuts. We have no time display. We come back in. We have no time display.
The car appears to be outside and on fire.
Yeah, we see what looks like fire through the windshield.
A broken windshield.
And then, very distortedly, the GPS tells us,
you have arrived at your destination.
Yeah, and that's the first episode of Local 58. It's about a possessed GPS.
I'm pretty sure Robot Chicken did this as a sketch a long time ago, where the GPS was sentient and led someone to their death.
Yeah, but I think that was less spookums and more like the person pissed off their GPS, so the GPS led them off a cliff. I think that was Robot Chicken spoofing that story about a woman who drove off a cliff because she just followed her GPS and...
I'm just saying, feels like it's been done before.
Yeah.
No, I honestly have no issues with this. It was fine. I do find the lack of audio annoying / kind of odd. It's not even that we don't hear anyone talk. We never hear them, but we are picking up all of the other sounds. which would almost make it seem like this camera has a mic on the outside, but that's not really how dashboard cams work. And like even just like the sound of someone in the car, I think would do a lot, but there's nothing there.
Yeah, there's nothing, which is a weird choice
because it's picking up the GPS sound from in the car. And also, this person drove for like 2.5+ hours with no music or anything.
Well,
in deafening silence, but I guess they just couldn't afford the copyrights for it, so
3.5 hours.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Anyways, next episode is called Contingency. This one will be very fast.
This one is basically all just text on a screen.
Well, it starts with an outside shot and then cuts to a static shot of a building with the local 58 logo over it.
Yeah, assumingly their station house, or what they advertise at their station house for their channel.
And then it cuts to a schedule card.
3 a.m., end of broadcast day.
And this is all set to generic filler music.
Yeah, basically almost hold music.
Then this concludes our broadcast day with patriotic music and a flag. Then the music distorts. A voice says, "Have a great night," over the image of the moon landing.
And then we get a test screen.
With the test noise. Oh, test screens and test noises. How I miss you.
And then we get a seal for a U.S. agency. The seal is
the U.S. Department for the Preservation of American Dignity.
Yes, and the seal has a globe with a sword and feather over it, a flag draped over the top part with a scales sitting on top, and over what I guess I'm going to call the shoulders of the globe, which feels wrong, but on either side of the globe, basically, there's a man and a woman.
Yep. And then we get a card that says, "Do not use after November 13th, 1970, contingency message reel. Locator."
The locator is just a thing that's used to let you know what the source is, where to find it.
U.S. Department for...
Yeah, it's basically a file name.
Preservation of American Dignity, file number.
And then it says, "To be used only in the event of United States complete surrender to insurmountable enemy forces. Public broadcast only upon confirmed condition. 12 Omaha, solemn certainty," which would be the operation name or the file name. And we get the beginning of a contingency message.
So the test screen changes to the American flag billowing in the air to the sound of the Star-Spangled Banner as a message scrolls up the screen.
And on the top left, we have a box for a date, but the date's not been filled in, which means this is a rubber stamp message, meaning we have this ready, we just put in the date whenever we need, which immediately from here implies that this message is not supposed to be being shown.
Or that they didn't have time to
Or that they didn't have time. There are two options. Either things are really hitting the wall.
So the message says, "The worst has come to pass," and then through a scrolling message continues to detail that despite sacrifice, America is now an occupied state and has been forced to surrender. But it ends with the message, "The enemy will never occupy our spirit."
Yes. And then we're continuing on, and it's asking the people of the U.S.
to take action.
To preserve the memory of the United States. That way it can remain pure and untarnished despite this loss, basically.
And then the scrolls in the voice of the president. I don't mean that we get voiceover, but like
it's done from the perspective of the president. Because it says, "Know that I
have already taken action in the company of my loved ones."
Now, all of you should, basically.
Yep. And then we get another panel that calls for the Americans to act. That history shall remember that even in defeat, we refuse to yield. And that even in defeat, we claimed victory.
We got "Don't go softly into that Dark Knight" bullshit speech. And then it's from the president. It's signed from the state of the president.
Yep.
And then we get, obviously, much more explicit directions to kill yourself.
Well, the image goes to an image of pink carnations.
Yeah.
And the song changes from Star-Spangled Banner to "My Country 'Tis of Thee." And the text continues to urge Americans to take action, but it's not quite clear what that action is.
No, but the top text of this panel is "Honor liberty by taking the final and greatest liberty of all.
You take America with you," with the seal from the Department for Preservation of America.
And then we go to our next panel, which is
more flowers, but also very explicitly telling you to kill yourself.
Well, no, that's the one after this. This one tells us that we'll all be remembered, and that now is the time. Please use the means most accessible and available to you.
Okay.
And then the next one is, guns are preferred.
Put one, take the muzzle, put it in your mouth.
Yeah, it gives you explicit instructions on how to kill yourself with a gun.
It implies God has also committed suicide, my favorite line of this entire
thing. It tells you to join your families, your neighbors, and God. And
it says your country needs you to say goodbye with pride. Which, honestly, that panel is, like, the perfect type of, like, 2010s, 2012, like, response image when you're in an argument on the internet where, like, somebody says something and you want to tell them to KMS.
Yeah.
You could just reply with this picture that says your country needs you to say goodbye with pride.
Yes.
Stop arguing here before you make yourself look stupider.
And then we go to our next one, which is just to let you know that, hey, you have to do it now. It's illegal if you don't, but don't worry. Cops are willing to assist you, which is fine. Cops have been willing to assist you with that or force it upon you for decades.
Well, I mean, it should be important to note that it's not illegal to not kill yourself. It's illegal to delay killing yourself.
Yes.
So, yeah. Same thing at the end of the day, but...
And then the bottom of the message just tells you that this message will repeat until no one is alive to read it, which to me implies the message will constantly repeat, because if no one's alive to read it, that means there's no one alive to stop it.
Next panel is to remember the 3 Fs.
If possible.
Front lawn, face up, feet together, but only if there is time.
Mm-hmm. And then the next one tells you to worry about your kids first. Kill the brats first.
Everyone can do their part.
Calmly.
Infants and pets are the smallest patriots.
That is a direct quote, and it literally has a picture of a baby, and it's the fucking best panel because it flashes up only briefly, almost to akin that the person making this was like, I'm down with all of this, and I thought this line would be great, but I don't want to show it too long, but I love it.
The next one is a very quick panel, like blink and you miss it panel. In fact, if you don't blink, you still probably won't have time to read it, and it just says, the 51st state is not a place.
I got the 51st state, and I was like, oh shit, are we talking about, like, which 51st state? It's like the 70s? So I was like, is this supposed to be like a state superior is a thing? And Josh had no idea what I was talking about. So if anyone doesn't know, state superior is a planned, like, thing that a lot of upper state Michigan wanted, like, not even, like, 20 years after they were founded. And they've just kind of been insisting it here and there throughout their history. It's weird.
It's also completely irrelevant to this.
Yeah, I just thought I'd mention it.
Because the 51st state could also be Puerto Rico, or American Samoa.
Or Cuba.
Or we don't own Cuba.
Not yet.
Anyways, it cuts to a test screen, the music slows down, we then get a local 58 technical difficulty screen that displays, we apologize for the interruption. And this screen changes to say that local 58 issues a correction. Earlier today, the station aired what appeared to be a warning message from a U.S. government agency. This has been confirmed as a hoax. Local 58 apologizes for any confusion that may have resulted. And then the final image of this video is
a very brief other image.
A panel from the U.S. Department of
Preservation of American Dignity.
Yep, that one.
And so this other department for the preservation of American Dignity card is labeled Local 58 Hoax Apology Card, and lists the instructions that this is to be played in case of accidental broadcast of the contingency plan broadcast during any off-air operations tests.
Yes.
So basically, you forgot to fucking turn off broadcast while you were making sure this thing works, just in case we ever need it. So now you have to run this other thing to tell people that that thing that you did run to see if it would run was actually fake, when it wasn't.
And then apologize for anybody that accidentally may have killed themselves because they were following the instructions from the U.S. Department of Preservation of American Dignity.
And then whoever obviously ran this just didn't run it correctly because they forgot to stop it before this last package for the panel played.
Yeah, that's...
I feel like someone's intentionally doing this over there at Local 58. Someone's just like, guys, I just got hired and I learned the weirdest fucking thing.
So that's Local 58. What did you think?
Better than the Backrooms.
I love Local 58.
Local 58 is actually just neat so far.
I watched all of Local 58 back in like 2019, 2020.
And remembered like none of it?
100%. My memory is garbage. We know that.
Yeah. Honestly, Local 58, maybe not the first one, but the second one definitely feels like almost an asset for a different project.
Well, the best part is, I just found out that there's a new episode that came out like less than 3 months ago.
Yeah.
So Local 58 is still cranking stuff out if you want to go watch Local 58.
And there's also, honestly, not a lot of them.
Yeah, it's like 11 episodes maybe?
Yeah. Anyways, though, from there... Actually, wait, sorry. Would you watch more?
I'm going to watch more. I'm going to finish the series off.
Nice.
I love Local 58.
Like I think it's really neat. The first one was alright. It was a bit long, given the fact that the majority of it was just driving, but I do understand it was meant to, like, set it all up right. But it was kind of boring, but it was still fine.
Would you watch more of Local 58?
I would.
So next up is what?
And then, so, our next continuation for Fright Flight is Gemini Home Entertainment, which you can find on their YouTube channel, Gemini Home Entertainment. And the first video we'll be watching from them is World's Weirdest Animals.
Which opens with a logo for Gemini, which is a bluish sphere with a reddish haze around the outside.
I mean, I believe it's supposed to be a planet. It looks very similar to how I've seen
Neptune. I did put planetoid in my notes, but the word Gemini written across the front and then Home Entertainment underneath that.
Yeah, Gemini's written in gold above it.
Not above, across the
top, yeah. Technically superimposed above it, but not above.
On the upper layer.
Yeah, exactly.
So then we see the planet Earth and the episode title, World's Weirdest Animals, all with a relaxing tone, music set to it.
Yeah, honestly, it feels like the kind of like cheap, I don't feel like teaching my like third grade science class today.
Yeah, and that's exactly what this video is, because we zoom into a map of Minnesota, and we zoom to Wilkin County.
Rural Minnesota.
So this is specifically a videotape you're meant to show your class if you're teaching third grade biology to Minnesotans.
Yes, and you don't want to teach them today.
So we get some highway footage as a car drives down the highway with the camera pointed out the window.
To farmland shots, yeah.
And then it says, Animal 1. And then a video in a green frame shows up and it says, Greater Prairie Chicken.
It talks about how the greater prairie chicken is native to Central North America. They're known for their protruding air sacs and ear-like feather protrusions.
Yep, males perform lecking as a mating ritual, utilizing their air sacs.
Which, what that is, if you do not know, is they puff out their throats, basically, which has a bit of a yellow plumage on it.
Mm-hmm.
It then display to get mates. And then we continue on to the...
If you, like me, ever wondered why the giant chicken robots in Horizon Zero Dawn have air pockets on their chest that they use to shoot fire, it's because these chickens have giant air pockets on their chest they use to shoot fire.
Not fire, but yes. So then we learn that also apparently in winter, weirdly enough, they kind of bury in snow to stay warm. How weird, isn't that just a fun fact?
And then we zoom into Clay County,
which just seems to be not too far north of Wilkins County.
We get some more highway footage.
Mm-hmm.
Animal number 2, the burrowing owl. Once found all over America, they are now much rarer. They burrow nests instead of nesting in trees, and they live in prairies where they can use former squirrel and badger holes as their nests.
Yep. And then we cut back to the overall state view of Minnesota, and the entire map is now red. And we were told that this animal we're about to see appears everywhere in Minnesota.
We get some more highway. The music from the intro and the rest of this video cuts out.
It doesn't cut out. It gets really, really choppy.
But then it cuts out.
Mm-hmm. And we're in just a normal brown screen for quite a few seconds.
And then the video takes the center of the screen. Should be noted that the screen color has been different for each animal. For the chickens, it was green. For the owls, it was blue. And now it's brown.
Yes.
And we see like some type of footprints and snow.
Well, first we've seen a snowy brush.
Yeah, that's right.
And we are told we are going to learn about wood crawlers. And honestly, my first reaction was, I have no idea what that's supposed to fucking be. Maybe it's like a colloquial name for an animal.
Yeah,
like that sounds like some fucking shit I'd hear someone tell me is like the name for like a stick bug.
Well, to be fair, wood crawlers are actually found all over North America.
Yeah.
And they're actually excellent hunters.
Mm-hmm.
And they're able to tread through most terrains without making any noise.
Mm-hmm.
So actually kind of a scary predator.
And they prefer nesting in homes of large families where they can adapt easier. Which, sounds a lot like field mice almost.
But you will hear screaming.
Mm-hmm.
They stole their voices. Burned the bodies, lest they stand up again.
Mm-hmm.
Nature's mockery.
And when we hear the thing about the fact that they prefer to nest in large family homes, we see a house. When we're told they stole their voices, we hear a dog barking. And then when we're told to burn the bodies, we see some burning boxes and refuse.
And then Nature's Mockery, we're inside a laundry room.
Yeah, we got to the inside of a laundry room and it says, Nature's Mockery. And then it seems like
2 giant spider legs just pop out of the doorway, and slam into the floor. And then after they slam into the floor, the camera falls sideways and static cuts out before going to black.
So it didn't seem to me like the camera fell. It felt like there was more actual motion behind it. To me, it felt like the cameraman was ducking out of sight.
Fair enough. The screen goes static and then black.
Yeah.
So the camera comes back up, focused on the house. Now it's nighttime.
And they're outside the house.
Something's moving on the right side of the frame.
Yeah.
The cameraman notices it, turns to leave, camera goes to static, and then back to black.
And then we are once again outside.
This time looking through a window.
Mm-hmm. And we see 2 shadowy figures of people standing by a table, and slowly, bit by bit, they resolve a bit more. And it's a grown man and a young child kind of just standing there.
The man is moving weirdly, though, and making clacking noises with his mouth. His upper mouth and shoulders are moving weird.
He seems to be twitching with his upper body a bit.
So the camera goes black, and then when we get another image, it looks like both the man and the cameraman are outside now.
I would say that, but the angle of the lighting for the guy doesn't make sense if he's outside.
Yeah, I couldn't tell.
So
where the
I
man
think
was
he's
supposed to be.
inside, but with one light source almost.
And now he's making popping noises with his mouth.
Honestly, he looks to almost be emulating human facial movement.
Yeah.
But not completely understanding. He's adapting, it seems, to how human faces work.
Yeah. And then back at the window, we watch the boy just walk back and forth through the house.
Mm-hmm. Back and forth, back and forth, back and forth.
And then
I believe the cameraman's now on the porch because it sounds like he's walking on wood. It's creaking.
And he's looking through and he's got his camera focused on the man. And then the man notices him and comes running at him through the window.
Mm-hmm.
And the camera goes back to
it
static
definitely
and black.
falls this time.
Yeah. And we cut back to the Earth with the world's weirdest animals graphic before fading to the Gemini logo.
And that's the end of this Gemini Home Entertainment production. What are your thoughts? Would you watch more?
I love the first half of this video because it strongly baits you in.
Yeah.
I did forget to mention something. Yes. So we get a shot from the man from behind at one point, and it's subtitled Fake People.
Oh, yeah, it does say fake people at a point. Yep, you're right.
So wood crawlers are fake people? Or they become fake people?
Well, my question is, this is the one thing I had an issue with. When we had the wood crawlers, up until the camera seemed to duck at a view in the laundry room, we are still kind of in the animal info thing, animal documentary thing.
And then it changes.
Yeah, so are these fake people a different animal?
I don't know.
My only other issue is clearly this wasn't done with a budget, because those wood crawler legs just look like someone painted some cardboard gray.
Yeah.
Which is fine. Other than that, I actually really enjoyed this. I think it was fairly well done and kind of creative.
Yeah, it was fine. I don't know if I'd watch more, but like this was fine.
Yeah, and then we have the second episode from Gemini Home Entertainment, and it is Storm Safety Tips.
And the video opens with the Gemini Home Entertainment logo.
Mhm.
And then most of this video is text on a gray-blue screen.
Yep.
With music that is very reminiscent of like standard hold music.
It is halfway through the video you're showing your third grade science class on tornadoes. The part where you actually technically have to be teaching them something instead of them watching tornadoes on the screen.
And then we get the title, Storm Safety Tips, brought to you by Harbinge Technologies.
And then we have our next card. Storms can be violent and dangerous. In this cassette, you will learn how to protect you and your family when a severe storm hits your home.
I'm going to tell you now, our review of this episode is just going to mean you don't have to watch this episode. Because
I wasn't going to do exactly that, but yeah.
Here's the next card is Part 1, Prepare in Advance. You do not want to get caught in a storm unprepared. To prepare your home in case of a storm, follow these steps.
Step 1. Reinforce your home. This may involve improving structural support, replacing roof shingles, or fixing any possible leaks.
Step 2. Install an early warning system. This will allow you to know beforehand if a storm or other danger is approaching your home. Recommended, Albedo Alarm from Harbinge Technologies.
And then we get to Step 3. Create a storm bunker. Make sure the bunker matches the following measurements. 10 feet by 18 feet.
Create concrete foundation at least 8 inches thick.
In the center of your bunker, install a large aluminum hemisphere 4 to 5 feet in diameter.
Place a shortwave radio next to the hemisphere. Recommended timber radio from Harbinge Technologies within 4 to 5 feet of your hemisphere.
Only turn on the radio in the event of an emergency.
Part 2. What to do during a storm.
Well, here, the video gets static. Like, it says to only turn the radio on in the event of an emergency, and then it gets staticky.
And we cut to Part 2.
What to do during a storm.
In the event that a storm hits your home, it is important to follow these steps.
Step 1. Quietly take your family to your bunker. Your home does not belong to you now.
Step 2. Turn on shortwave radio. Ignore all sounds produced by radio. These are auditory hallucinations.
Step 3. Remain calm. Your tears are filled with salt.
Before we step into Part 3, I just want to say this entire thing feels like a Welcome to Night Vale bit.
It really, really does. And we've talked about it before. We like Welcome to Night Vale, so obviously this one's going up for pretty well so far.
I haven't kept up with Welcome to Night Vale because it's a lot.
Yeah.
But goddamn is Welcome to Night Vale just gravy. Especially like the first 80 episodes probably.
Oh yeah, definitely.
The first book. Welcome to Night Vale.
The second book's good too.
So good. So much fun.
So then we get to Part 3, After a Storm.
If you believe the storm has passed, carefully leave your bunker to survey for damages.
If your house has been severely damaged, check for movement.
Do you hear the chime? You are safe. The storm has passed over.
So then we get the audio, distorting again. Then on the screen, we have text. Look to the field. Do you see lights? Return to your bunker.
Yeah, so then the background music goes on hold, and it starts to distort, and then it ends.
And we now see like just a wet field.
Yeah.
It's evening, there are clouds in the distance.
It's either evening or morning, it's hard to tell.
Yeah.
I think it looks more evening, you're right.
So do I. Because it feels like the lights, I know it's going to sound weird in the statement because like the light feels like it's coming more from above, which is like obviously the sun could be in the same position and a still image, right?
Don't even try to defend this. It feels more night.
Yeah, I know. My brain's just like in the still image, if the light's more from above, it feels like evening because the sun's setting. But that doesn't fucking mean anything. My brain's just making excuses.
We then cut to an image of a storm siren. No, not yet. Sorry.
We see one light appear in the field.
And then another light. And then another light. And they start appearing too fast to count. And then we get a newer, darker background. It's no longer the blue-gray. It's like a dark blue-black.
Yes.
And
And we're back to screen text.
But it's all italicized now.
Listen.
Under your feet.
Crawling through the floor. And then we have static. And we resolve into an image of a storm siren on screen.
And then we resolve back into our gray-blue background with our hold music coming back.
Congratulations. You are now well equipped to defend you and your family against storms. Storm safety tips created by Remy Abode. Or Remy Abode. Depends on how they choose to pronounce their name.
Gemini Home Video. Yep, that's
Gemini
it.
Home Entertainment, but yeah.
Yeah. Yep, that's it.
So, would you watch more things from the Gemini Home Entertainment channel?
I wouldn't, sit down and watch these, but, I would put them on to just, have as background or to, vaguely pay attention to while doing something else.
Yeah, makes
this
sense.
one is hilarious.
This one's fantastic.
I get the horror vibe it's going for, this,
Remain calm.
but it's...
Your tears are salt.
It's so good.
Yeah, no, it's really nice. I like it.
Your home no longer belongs to you.
So I would definitely watch more of this one too, but also more of a passive thing. I don't think I'm going to go out of my way to watch it, but I would watch more if it was conveniently on in the background.
Yeah. Our next series is called Just Acquaintances, which you can find at the YouTube channel Just Acquaintances, all one word.
It is also our only video that's not really horror analog horror.
No, this is found footage.
It's found footage.
Yeah. So we start with the episode introduction.
And it's just a lot of white text on screen with slight video playing in the background that does not pertain to text.
A lot of bird feeders and birds.
Yeah, I mean, you use what stock footage you can get, man.
So I'm just going to run us down.
Okay.
Tell me if I forget anything. So the video starts, and this is all white text on the screen, and the narrator, author, writer is telling us that in 2010, a high school acquaintance of his named Nick had a brother who went missing.
Yes.
He is yet to be found. We live in a fairly small town, so the news of his disappearance got around really fast.
Yeah, and then also, Nick disappeared about a year later.
Yep, in October.
Police know nothing about either of them.
Yep, they found no evidence and gave up the search just as they did with his brother. He says, I believe they were both gone for good. That was until this showed up at my doorstep.
And we have an image of a box. He never mentions the box. It just shows up in the box. It's the one thing he doesn't put in white text that is probably the most important thing that should have been put in white text.
Yeah, so he received a package, and it was postmarked from before Nick's disappearance. The postman explains to him that the package got lost in transition, and they only recently refound it.
Yeah.
And now he's got it. Our narrator feels it's very odd because it's from just about the time that Nick disappeared.
Yep. But he opens it, and inside there's a camcorder, a external hard drive, 6 memory cards, one USB cable, USB cable.
A charging cable.
He repeats one USB cable, which means he's a liar.
So two USB.
There's two of them.
Well, he was just counting them individually. One USB cable, one USB cable, one memory card, 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 one
memory card, one external hard drive.
Yeah, he then tells us that he's going to be watching through these videos, and if he finds anything interesting, he'll post it on YouTube.
Yeah.
And not to go to the police with it, because fuck the police.
That's how she goes, ACAB. And that, yeah, he might be a bit consistent. He'll post it whenever he's available. He has a busy schedule.
And he will keep his face and name out of it because he is weirded out by everything going on.
And he'll do the same for anyone in the video, is what he said. But our next episode, we meet 3 people. 2 of them are assumedly the brothers, Nick and his brother. And then there's a third person.
The other 2 people are Mark and Austin. One of them is one of the missing brothers.
But we don't know which.
And the other is a friend of theirs.
Yeah. And also we get the name drop for this channel and series in this because OP, uploader, whatever you want to call him, is just like, yeah, I'm going to go through this. Is anything interesting? But I just don't know why Nick would send this to me. We were just acquaintances.
Roll credits. Series over. We're done.
Yeah. So then we have episode 2 or actual episode 1.
The Batstow Cemetery.
Yes.
So the second video starts with a black screen and more white text because this guy loves black screens and white texts.
Yep.
And it says, after looking through clips, I found something that I think might be significant.
And then the camera starts up in the forest, maybe, and it is 10:27 a.m.
September 3rd, 2010.
Yes.
Approximately 1 month before Nick's brother goes missing. Mm-hmm. We get an outside bird feeder shot, which makes me think that the shots he used in the first one might have been samples from the film already.
Yeah, maybe.
Maybe. Then we get a shot inside the house.
We have
Nick or his brother. I assume Nick because Nick is the one that sent the package, so Nick is probably the one with the camera.
Well,
we know Nick's
it has to be Nick because of later things. Is in his room, assumedly, looks at a mirror.
I thought it was a hallway because it looked like it didn't look like a room. It looked like he was out in a hallway with.
He looks in a mirror. We see him. He's wearing a white shirt. And then he's walking off into through the kitchen area towards another hallway. They appear to be living in a double wide.
Yeah, and then the 2 brothers and a friend talk in the hallway because Nick is getting ready to go somewhere.
And assumedly his brother stops him.
Yeah.
His brother's wearing a black shirt with a watch and has a watch. These are the only identifiers I have for people, so I use what I have. And they're kind of just talking, and then their friend, assumedly it's their friend, mentions that, hey, look
how this burn mark is healing up.
Yeah, and it doesn't really look much.
He blames Nick's brother for it or something.
Yeah, and then they just kind of talk about how he could have used it to attract girls.
Yep, so the brother with the camera tells the other brother to lift up his shirt. He's like, hey, lift up your shirt.
And he's like, no.
Lift up your shirt.
And then we just cut from there.
Yeah.
To the same watch brother.
Same day, because the clock doesn't change.
Yeah. And he's just doing a sponsor for the generic lemon lime soda Twist Up.
And now he's wearing his jacket, though.
Yes.
But the sponsorship for Twist Up ends with, when life's got you down, twist up.
Honestly, not a bad line.
Not a bad lime at all.
Yep. And then we cut.
I said lime because
I got you. I just ignored it.
Is it a lemon lime soda?
Yeah.
Yep.
And then we see Watch Brother getting into his car, and
he says something about
don't record yet, bro.
Yeah.
And then we have a shot of the car driving towards the camera, And then it continues. It's basically just like, here, I'm grabbing the shot. I'll probably edit it later for something, or I just wanted the shot. And he's just like, I thought this would be neat. We see Watch Bro drive off.
Then we cut to a new time, 11:39 a.m., same day, September 3rd, 2010.
Mm-hmm.
He's filming in the house, the TV's on in the background. Cambro, which we now know is Nick, grabs his keys and starts driving.
Yeah, he's going to Batstow Cemetery. This is also where we learn his name.
And he says that Mark and Austin refused to go back to Batstow Cemetery for some unknown reason.
Mm-hmm. Which, if you're wondering how this proves his name, we know there are 3 people here.
One
and by the process of
Nick.
elimination, one has to be Nick. Neither Mark or Austin will go to the cemetery.
So the person going to the cemetery is Nick. It's like one of those word problems from elementary school.
Yeah, you never thought those word problems would matter in real life. You're wrong. Sometimes filmmakers don't tell you who characters are and you have to extrapolate.
Sometimes filmmakers are bad at their job.
Yeah.
So anyways, he mentions that it's a brand new camera. Then he parks his car, gets out, trudges through the cemetery until he finds a road closed sign. He's like, oh, I guess this used to be a road.
He doesn't even go to the cemetery first. He mentions the fact that he thinks there's like a bridge behind here, behind the church supposedly.
Yeah, but he parked it at the church. So he's like...
Yeah, but he hasn't gone through the cemetery.
Yeah.
And assuming he goes behind the church, but this area definitely doesn't look like it's behind the church.
Also, because we find out that there's tombstones that date back to like the 1800s, there's no way there's this metal rusted sign that says
road closed?
Road closed in a cemetery that goes back to the 1800s.
Yeah, no, they definitely aren't in the same spot.
Yeah.
Unless the church is the church is kind of to the left of the cemetery area. But
so, I don't know.
There was no continued road past the church.
Anyways, there's an old wooden bridge. He mentions that he doesn't feel safe on it.
And then he's immediately like, oh, this feels pretty stable.
And then immediately goes underneath the bridge. And
he kind of wanders around the trees a bit.
I expected a jump scare here based on like the type of thing we were watching, but nothing happens.
How dark it gets and everything.
Yep.
No, we just cut to him now walking.
Then he's trudging through the cemetery and he's like, can't even read some of these tombstones. This one says 1819, this one's 1822.
Which makes sense because we learned by looking at the church.
In 1808.
Yeah, so.
We also learned that the church is the Batso Pleasant Mills Cemetery. Mm-hmm. That's the name of the cemetery, not the church. But yeah, so then he's back by the creek area again. We hear a dog bark. He turns to face the creek, says, what the hell, and starts running.
Yeah, we just see him running. Then he gets in his car and he's like, guess I'm never coming back here again alone.
Yeah.
And we still hold the door.
And then he's back on the road out from behind the cemetery. And he's like, I don't want to come back here again. Let's just leave it at that.
Yeah,
I love the let's just leave it at that.
Yeah,
line.
And then he's just like, I guess I'll show my brother this. And then he gets out of his car at home and pets his cat.
Well, back in the car on the way to his house, we get a new timestamp. Same day, 1:13 p.m.
So it's been about an hour and a half, basically, since we started all this. Since he left home. So this place is either rather close to his home or he was here for no time at all, which wouldn't really seem to make up with the fact that he appeared to be wandering in the forest because the forest bits weren't like a seamless shot. I feel like he was
probably there for like 45 minutes and he's probably within like 10-15 minutes of his house.
That's my assumption.
Yeah. But yeah, he gets out of his car, his cat walks up to him, he scratches cat. Episode ends with white text on black screen, and it says, I'm going to continue looking for anything else of importance, implying that this was of importance, which it's not, because nothing happens.
Look, this just makes me think that Nick is terrified of dogs, and is just like, man, I really like this place. I want to show my brother that there's nothing weird about it, because I really like that creek. It looks like a great fishing hole.
No, I don't know. I think he's just afraid of dogs in the context of creeks.
Dogs shouldn't be in water. It's not natural, I tell you. It ain't natural.
Yeah. It's fine. It feels very like Marble Hornets in its style.
Yeah.
Which we've reviewed the first 2 episodes of Marble Hornets before, and Marble Hornets was boring.
It definitely wasn't my cup of tea.
Marble Hornets does more in its first 2 episodes than this does.
Yeah, because the second episode of Marble Hornets
actually has Mr. Slenderman.
Well, that, and it's taken completely out of any relevant time frame or anything. It wasn't like, here's the first thing, because it was just like, I got all this stuff, and I don't know what order they go in, right?
Yeah.
Whereas apparently this guy seems to know the order it goes in, because, I mean, if you looked at the memory cards, I think they had numbers on them.
Well, even if you didn't look at the memory cards, the files are probably like timestamped.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
I don't know, man.
Whereas for Marble Hornets, it was just like, my friend was recording a movie. Date doesn't fucking necessarily mean anything.
This is kind of boring.
Agreed.
Yeah, so I think this Fright Flight has been more of a letdown than the last couple. More of a letdown than the one, but less of a letdown than the one where we watched Hi, I'm Mary, Mary and all of those. Is that second Fright Flight, I think, with Hi, I'm Mary, Mary? Very good, very solid.
Hi, I'm Mary, Mary was the first time, bud.
Oh, was it?
Yeah.
I don't remember our Fright Flights.
The second one had Luisa's Missing and
yes.
232.
So I think this was better than year 2, but worse than year 1.
I would agree.
Okay.
Yeah.
I had fun with it, though. I like Fright Flights, and if you do too, something tangentially related to this, reviewing more horror-based stuff, I have, on our Patreon, been watching horror movies every day this month.
And he's been hating almost every day this month.
And it's killing me.
Correlation is not causation.
I like some horror movies, but I'm dropping them in batches of 3, the reviews.
Yeah.
They're audio reviews on the Patreon, and anybody who subscribes at any Patreon tier can listen to those. They're not very long. Don't get your hopes up. I think 15 minutes and 10 minutes is about it.
Yeah, roughly.
For the first 2 drops.
Though, to keep with naming aesthetic, they are short haul wings. Because a short haul is a short flight, whether it be time or distance.
I'm trying to fill in my gaps in the horror movies because I've just missed a bunch of movies throughout history.
Basically, if it's before 2000, the chance of him seeing it goes exponentially down by basically every year you get farther away from the current century.
Yeah, especially if it's a horror movie, which all of these movies I'm watching are horror movies. But if you want to find our Patreon, you can do that by finding our website, www.copilotsreview.simplecast.com, or by finding the Patreon itself, www.patreon.com/copilotsreview.
Yes. And if you want to tell Josh about any horror movies he should watch, you can do that by tweeting at us on Twitter at copilotsreview.
Or emailing us at copilotsreview@gmail.com.
And if remembering one of those is too hard to, or you just don't feel like it, you can always go to our website, copilotsreview.simplecast.com, where you can find a link to Twitter, YouTube, our Gmail, our Patreon, and our Discord, which you can also ask a question there if you want.
Yep. But thanks for joining us on this flight. There is no interstitial episode this month. This takes the place of that. But we want to thank you for joining us on this Fright Flight. And we'll see you again for one more spooky movie. Or I guess we'll see you again for one more spooky
series
this month. Or another 24 spooky movies.
Sucks to be you.